we'll start the meeting now. Anthony, please, you can start recording.
Recording has started.
Thank you. My name is Alice Turinawe. I am with two other colleagues. I am a lecturer and researcher at Makerere University from the Department of Agriculture and Natural Resource Economics. And I will be presenting to you about benchmarking approaches to improve delivery of hands-on practical experiences for students, trying to see how we incorporate practicals in our students' curriculum. I'm with two colleagues. Please introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Alice. My name is Raymond Musima. I'm the program's co-director at Michigan Fellows Agribusiness Initiative Uganda, UMFI. I'm also the principal investigator in the Agribusiness Apprenticeship Program funded by the US Department of State under the auspice of Michigan State University Alliance for African Partnerships. I'll be speaking about creating entrepreneurial ecosystems to increase graduates' employability. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, yes. Yes, thank you, Alice and Raymond. My name is Patrick Musinguzi, a lecturer in the Department of Agriculture Production at the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, Makerere University, Kampala, Uganda. I'm also one of the beneficiaries of the Innovation Scholars Program in this university under the program of Michigan State University under the Bolog Higher Education for Agricultural Research and Development Program. And I'll be sharing with you the deployment of a problem-centered learning approach where I will deploy the teach, think, pair, share model as a way to boost skilling of our graduates, especially in Africa. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Next slide, please. Yes, so I briefly wanted to take you what we shall be discussing with you today. We are going to go briefly through brief introductions, which we have finished. And we have some questions for you. The questions are basically our way for us to know you. We want to know more our audience. We want to know more where our audience is coming from, especially in terms of experiences, so that we can know how to interact more. And after that, we are going to give you a background of our research. We are 3 projects that have a lot of common areas. So we have a main background and objectives that really show how all this fits into the employability and entrepreneurship field. And then we shall briefly have separate presentations, brief. Each of us will give you a brief on their project and what they did and what worked and what did not work. And then, of course, we shall have general discussions, including Q&A. I wanted to encourage you to paste questions, insights, and comments for us as we go. That will be helpful for us. It will enrich our conversation. So please feel free to type in the chat and we shall pick that up. Yes, and I would like to proceed to our icebreaker questions. We have 2 questions. The first question is really asking us whether we have worked within an institution of higher learning. You can put yes or no. That will help us a lot. I'll give us a few minutes to to vote? Thank you. I think this is all. Thanks a lot. I see that most of us have worked within institutions and universities of higher learning in Africa. That's exciting because our main focus today is really African institutions and their challenges with creating employable students. So welcome once again. And for those that have not worked with them, we are glad you're here to give us an independent insight into what we really covered and how you see things from your perspective. We can go to the next question, which is about really whether you agree or not. We base our problem on problem statements on the fact that we think the African university graduates lack sufficient entrepreneurial acumen. We wanted to have your opinion. Do you agree? And we'll be really happy to get comments on why you agree and why you do not agree. So feel free to type. We have 25% saying that they do agree, and a larger percentage, 75, do not agree. This is really interesting, and we look forward to really exploring more why we think that African university graduates have entrepreneurial acumen. So we'll get back to that as we discuss and as we go through the conversation of what has really made us think that graduates really do not have enough skills. So I'll quickly hand you over to Raymond. Raymond gives us a background on cross-cutting objectives for this session today, and then we'll proceed. Raymond, you're welcome to present.
Thank you, Alice. That has been a very interesting poll to see that our audience seems to disagree that university graduates and students, it's an interesting statistic there, and I think it's worth looking into in reflection to our own presentations. So our presentation perspectives for entrepreneurship among university graduates in the Global South is a major presentation of 3 projects, all funded and supported by USAID and development partners in Uganda. Essentially, these 3 projects sought to address challenges around university students and graduates' capacity to enter the workforce and start their own businesses after university. And among challenges that were cross-cutting were inadequate competencies, insufficient experiences, and employable skills, which we individually sought to address through our respective projects and programs. There were quite a number of interesting and cross-cutting themes, ideas, issues, with one primary objective, which was to contribute to students and graduates' capacity to meet societal and entrepreneurial challenges. Today, we come to join with the world and share with you what we intended to address and how, what we found, what worked and what did not work. And it is my honor now to invite Alice to share her experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. So my project was on really trying to find approaches that can help incorporate practicals into the theory that students study these days. So I called it benchmarking approaches for improved delivery of hands-on practical experiences. It was based at Makerere University with partners from Michigan University. And I still do have a coach from Luanda University, who, has done this research before and who is a partner in this project to make sure that we get the expected results. So what we really intended to address here is the fact that there is a lot of technical know-how that graduate students leave the university with, but this technical know-how actually lacks the practical aspect. And the question we wanted to answer here was, how do we actually ensure that these students leave when they can back their theoretical knowledge with actually practical, how to do it kind of knowledge? And then it was also based on the fact that the graduates, and of course before that, students have limited interaction with the world outside. So potential employers, potential business partners, potential people that would push them ahead in life in terms of entrepreneurship, they don't have this platform where they get to meet as they're going through trainings. So the project was based on how do we actually expose students to the world out there to learn what is done and learn, how it is done. So our underlying methodology here is the human-centered design. So we started this project with our perception on how we think things should be done and what we think is the problem. So the human-centered design we used was to basically go to the students, go to their potential employers, go to the students that have left, and organizations that can help in entrepreneurship to ask them, how do you see the current graduate? What do you think they're actually lacking? And then get to hear from them and kind of reformulate our problem in that way. So we went there and came back here with issues that students, graduates, and the external stakeholders think are really important. So we did this data collection and also exposed students to out-of-class experiences based on the data that we collected. So we had, first of all, because it's an iterative process, you kind of try something, and then when it doesn't look so good or it needs improvement, you go back. So we started by sitting students in class and trying to see if we can bring these people to class and actually have them talk. That worked a little bit, but we had comments like, no, I think we are the ones who are supposed to go outside the university. So we took now students outside the university in response. They have been exposed to, organizations that are doing agribusiness, organizations that are trying to help people formalize their businesses, like registration bureaus. And we've carried out these activities. We are still carrying them out because the project is not complete. And we are also still observing results. Next slide, please. In addition to the data collection and the taking them out to the field, we are also trying to supplement what's learned in class with in-class practical. For example, we have a lot of our students and soon to graduate candidates saying, how do we sell ourselves out there if we need business partners? If we need help, what do we do? How do we write business plans? How do we carry out feasibility studies that can really convince a person out there that this is going to work? So we are also doing that aside to taking students outside. Yeah, so what we found in brief is really students prefer practical exposure outside of class. I have to emphasize that they do not want to sit down and listen to the talk, even when it's practical. So that came out. And we also found out, well, a bit surprising, that employers think that technical skills, the how to do it alone is not enough. So they talk about other skills, other soft skills that students need to have, like showing up on time, collaborating with co-workers very well, having good communication skills, having good presentation skills. These employers expect from our graduates. And our curricula definitely may not provide opportunity for this, but it's a real issue out there, that just knowing what to do is not enough. They have to know how to exist with the rest of the people and the environment out there. So what worked for us for now is that students really were exposed to more practical work. It is good for us. And we have put in effort to link them to as many agribusiness companies as we can, both for, learning how they do it part, but also for potential partnerships, either as entrepreneurial employees or as actually business partners. Yes. So this is a project that's coming to an end. The question for this project, and maybe for other similar projects, is if universities are faced with increasing numbers of students and they are faced with reducing spaces, reducing resources for practicals, how do we sustain these programs? For our part, for now, we are thinking about peer-to-peer kind of programs, where the ones that we are working with now, they get to leave, but we get contact. So they understand the program. Once we call them later and say, we need you to take these students through, we need you to support this program, that can work. But we are looking at really continuously improving this to make sure that it's relevant, basically using the human-centered design approach, where we keep hearing from those that are affected by the circumstances. So that's briefly on the project that I ran, and I will hand over to Raymond. Please brief us on your project. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alice. And there are so many, overlaps between the project that you're implementing and the work that I'm doing with my organization. And you talked about learning best practices and how the students can engage during work is something that we also found lacking. So in creating an entrepreneurial ecosystem to increase graduates' employability, arising from my follow-on project from Michigan State University after my US exchange program, we have worked with a colleague called Derek Tobias to put to pen this piece of work, and he has continuously supported our program. So in this topic that is arising from the work that we are doing with colleagues who are also alumni of an exchange program in the States, our intention was to tackle the issue of unemployment, and specifically youth unemployment. So I managed to engage with final year students, graduates within partner institutions of education to further understand the issue. And my findings indicated that it's very, very difficult for a graduate student to get decent employment immediately after university in Africa. And that also ties into creating their own jobs. So the challenge is very prevalent among women And we found that out of 10 graduates, one can get a job or create a job within the first 6 months after university, and that one was most likely to be a male. So we understood that part of this is informed by insufficient capacity to link the theory that they learn at university to the practice. And also, these young people lacked the essential skills to match job demands as required by the industries that they would want to work in. Also, issues arising to do with lack of capital and information, absence of opportunities to train, kept on arising. And specifically for young women, there were also challenges to do with being requested to have sex with, people in positions of power. So during our recruitment in the program that we're undertaking, which is Agribusiness Apprenticeship Program, AGAP, we intentionally chose to have our applicants tell their stories. And we were looking out for young women who have had these bad experiences, and it was very intentional for us to recruit these young women to participate in the AGAP and build the esteem and capacity to pitch ideas, to write competitive business plans, to network and grow. And were able to do this in collaboration with universities here in Uganda, Makerere University, St. Lawrence, Chambogo, among others, that, with support from Michigan State University, the Alliance of African Partnerships. So the program that I implement sought to build the capacity of specifically young women who are involved in agriculture with innovative ideas to see that they have these essential skills that are market demanded and have the capacity to seek out funding so they can start their projects. And we've had promising results. Next slide. In our program, next slide, please. Yes, we've had promising results. And we've had young people emerge from our program, and they have gone ahead to win pitching competitions. They have received funding for their projects, and we still work with them. We have recruited about 3 young women in our organization who serve in different capacities. We have also built synergies and bonds with universities in Uganda, who we continually work with in our programming. And what really has worked for us is that we have been successful to build the capacity of young people, work with universities, and also network beyond universities and work with civil society organizations. What didn't work, we were very intentional about inclusivity and having people with disabilities join the program. Unfortunately, we didn't have the technical know-how to do with the accommodations for people with disabilities. We were able to network and build collaboration with an organization that actually has the expertise to do that. And we didn't have a standard curriculum. We were using, experiences from experts telling their stories, more of to inspire and build, to have something that young people can look up to. So that was a gap, and we still look forward to, having a standard curriculum. And we hope in the future we can strengthen our collaboration with universities and private sector, establish advisory councils where we bring all stakeholders together to have these discussions, and have online trainings, on campus innovation hubs, product centers, where beyond the idea, young people can go ahead and actually start their own businesses or find decent employment. So that pretty much is the story for me. I would love now to invite my colleague, Patrick, to share his experience. Thank you.
Next slide. Yeah, thank you, Raymond, for that wonderful presentation. Quite interesting. And I know the idea is to create really entrepreneurs who are able to fit in the global community and in the world. So in line to what you did, we have also been building this time around from the university setting, where we are actually thinking that the real source which deals with the teaching need to be looked into. And therefore, we thought in our team that we needed to do a project that really looks at the teaching approach. So in this project, we actually deploy a problem-centered teaching and learning approach using the teach, think, pair, share model for increased skilling of agriculture students in this country, Uganda. And what we intended to achieve was basically from the background that the current state of learning in our universities is mainly driven by the lecturer, or it's a top-down approach where actually the lecturer is more in the seat than the students. And we thought that probably a way we could improve this is to have a more interactive kind of teaching where everyone is involved. And basically we thought of introducing what we are calling the TTPS model, which is the teach, think, pair, share model, where actually the lecturer this time around is able to engage the students in the thinking, especially in the problems that the community is facing. Especially this project was targeting agriculture students. So we actually presented this model in our project to the university, especially in this college, Makerere University, and we're able to apply the human-centered design, where we had to look at define the issues in the teaching process, ideate and prototype the teaching material, especially with the transformation that we are proposing with the TTPS model. And we're able to engage students actually with the field work, more exposures to the field, more engagement with the lecturer, more thinking. And of course, we also intended to look at the students' perception on what we are doing, especially with this model. What were the students' perception with the model we are presenting to them? And also we're able to engage the lecturers and the students, especially since these are the lead implementers of this model, the lecturers and the university administrators. We had to engage them and see what they perceive about this model. And also we're able to develop a policy brief to guide the future curriculum reviews. Next slide, please. Yeah, so in this model, we have been engaging the students. We had programs in the university that we run in this College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. So the lecturer basically is able to teach the normal way, but this time around, the student is more involved in a weekly topic of discussion. For example, if we had an issue maybe with armyworm invading the maize crop, we would actually go through the processes that affect the drivers of the armyworm and the impact on the crop. And we engage students in thinking through that problem, and we're able to later on engage the students into pairing. They pair together and they're able to share solutions with the class in general through sharing. So it was more of really engaging everyone, but in a strategic way. So this is the model we have been presenting and testing. And the students were able actually to also go out and meet practitioners on a topical lecture area. And we're able to actually even visit some of the areas outside the university, especially with practitioners who are really progressing in some of the areas, the farmers, the real estate dealers, and many other people. And the students were able to interface. For example, if you are teaching a topic on landscaping, beautifying a compound, the students were able to see the challenges of actually setting up a real estate and how an entrepreneur in that business can be challenged, especially in the costs of real estate establishment. So that really made the learning very interesting and engaging, but also students were able to learn to apply lecture skills and field skills to impact their future, especially as the potential entrepreneurs and of course, fit in the employment world. Next, please. Next slide, please. And so what is promising in our findings, we're able to actually notice that the model we have been testing with the university, 75% of the lecturers agree that actually there is a need to improve on the teaching style, where we are really interacting with the students and engaging more with the field and discussing topical issues and engaging more with the students. And also students like the model, especially since it promoted interactions. And also about 66% of the lecturers think that the TTPS concept is good, but 33% still believe we need to do more to test it and move out to the field and scale it out with more lecturers. But also what did not work, we also noticed that this approach cannot be included in the current curriculum because there are a lot of things to review and test. And also there is need to build a culture of independent thinking among students and also lobby for changes in the curriculum and approaches in the learning. So basically that's what we've been doing at the university. And we believe this model, if given time, it could really be impactful to our graduates from the universities and be really potential entrepreneurs and really fit into the employment world with more skills. So this is what we were able to present. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we are going into a very important session. I want to thank everyone who has been very active. We've so far received very interesting questions in the chat. But also I want to thank my colleagues, Alice and Raymond, for that elaborative presentation. We started with Alice giving us really very important areas of her project, especially on benchmarking the approaches for improved delivery of hands-on practical experiences. And you heard that actually students lack platforms to really, learn more from the field that can really impact them in class. And she was able to demonstrate this in her project. But also we have had quite interesting things from Raymond. Raymond really did wonders on entrepreneurship, creating that entrepreneurial ecosystem to increase students' employability. That is something which is quite touching, and it is in line with our main topic on perspectives of entrepreneurial related, issues with our universities. So we are opening up this session, ladies and gentlemen, for really open discussion and comments, and we are free to discuss now. So we had one question from one of us, and the question is basically, are there initiatives to provide seed funding for graduate entrepreneurship ventures? I think I'll request Raymond to respond to this. Raymond, please.
Well, thank you, Patrick. It's an interesting question. Well, I will speak first into the work that we do. We do not provide seed funding for graduates. However, we train graduates and build their skills to fundraise through one aspect, which is very essential to us, is grants. So we offer technical support and help the graduates need, our participants, apprentices need to write a concept and seek out funding. So it is an experiential kind of program that is extended by a mentorship for about a month, where we learn by doing. We also learn from these apprentices because they have innovative ideas, but we're also able to share our own experiences and connections to build their capacity and resilience to write grants, take in the rejections, and also celebrate the wins. And we've had some promising outcomes where we've had one of our apprentices, Hillary, Ndahurire, who has won funding, continental funding. Our apprentices have won pitching competitions of about 5,000 US dollars, 10,000. And we are proud of these accomplishments. So maybe I hope that answers the question. In our work in the EGAP, we do not provide seed funding. But probably there are some, if you search funders like USAID and global funding agencies, you may find actually some good seed funding for your ideas.
Well, thank you. Colleagues, if you have any questions, please, you can share in a chat. We shall be able to look at that and respond, but also you could comment. We have another question here. Is China playing any role in providing any such support to young graduates? Dr. Alice, I think this is maybe the question you can ably answer since you are at the university and you know what goes on.
Thanks, Patrick. I think this is a build-up from what Raymond has been trying to reply to. But I wanted to supplement him by saying that, yes, these particular projects that we are working with definitely do not have seed funding per se. But within the institutions, we have other related projects. For example, our college has an incubation center. And here, I mean, there are opportunities out there. What we do is equip these graduates to compete in such incubation center initiatives, all these places that can offer these opportunities. But we don't offer seed funding, and so it's related to whether there is seed funding from China for our projects. It's not there. Thanks.
Okay.
I wanted to say thanks, Kate, for your comments. Glad to see you too. One of the heads of the project where we come from, the USAID Michigan State Partnership.
Yes, we acknowledge your presence, Kate. Now, there is another important question here which has come up. Any experiences to share regarding youth attitudes when participating in these wonderful initiatives? Raymond, what's your take on this?
Very, very interesting. I've been looking at the chat and I just smiled because the comment that comes after that question is an interesting one from Pius Otwik, who is a beneficiary of one of our programs. And he says, "Thank you, Raymond, for the great work. I'm so grateful for having benefited from one of your programs. The ECOS4 has greatly transformed my life." This is very interesting, because this is the kind of attitude that we keep on seeing growing through the initiatives and projects that we are doing. We are seeing spirits lifted. We are seeing young people's lives transformed. And part of that speaks into the challenges that they are confronted with just right after university, where jobs are scarce. Opportunities to participate and network, are very scarce. So work like we do at UMFI provides platforms, connections, and opportunities, that are very transformational into the attitudes and practices of our young people. So that's what we see. We see a lot of hope, and we have a lot of faith in our young people who are coming through our programs.
So I think members, we need to come to the conclusion of this question and answer session, but overall, our youths are very excited about these new innovations in different platforms at the college here. People are very excited about this model. It is a bit new, the approaches, and of course, there are a lot of things to keep building on this model so that we're able to build a very good future for very good graduates able to fit to the market demands, and it starts from the university and then it moves out, this moves out to the employment world. So we really appreciate all of you for responding to these questions. Thank you very much, Raymond. Thank you, Alice. So at this moment, let me hand over to Alice to guide us to the next step. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. I will ask for the next slide, please. So our next slide really has questions that really we wanted to hear from you. You know, the way you look at this entrepreneurship and how important it is and how it can be promoted within these institutions. So we kindly ask you to click on the link in your chat. The questions will come up, and please help us put in some insights from yourselves so that we can discuss these aspects. So I will give us a few minutes to answer the question. The first one: in what ways do you think entrepreneurship can be promoted among higher educational institutions? You can mention two, you can mention one, feel free. We are not seeing any responses there. Oh, one of us cannot access. Yeah, so please copy and paste the link to your browser. That will help. It first brings a window. It should bring a window written on slide or, and then it basically shows after that. Okay, as we wait for responses, I will comment on responses from Kate. Yes. One is, I see continuous mentorship. This definitely means that the entire education system would need to have entrepreneurship entwined in the courses that we teach using alumni. I do agree, yes. And this basically becomes stronger with the interaction and keeping networks of those who leave universities. Case studies, yes, and local entrepreneurs, definitely, yeah. That's what most of us are now using, and it's really working. We see the enthusiasm we see the excitement of the students, the excitement they have to link up through the examples that are available and the local entrepreneurs. And then, of course, practical training. So yes, using the human-centered design, the design thinking, the ideas that we teach them, having to ensure that these are translated into actual practical work, what we normally call prototyping in our human-centered design. So these are very good responses. We can go to the next question, please. The next question is how are higher education institutions you are linked to promoting entrepreneurship and employability among graduates? This is definitely very interesting for us. These approaches we are using they are similar. They are here in Uganda, and we think they are really applicable to many African and other institutions context. But we are really eager to hear how other higher education and other institutions you're linked to are promoting entrepreneurship among graduates. So please fill in for us. Thank you. I'll wait for the responses. A reminder, please don't forget to paste in your browser, use the same link, and this question will show up. Okay, thank you for the responses. I see that increasing student-centered learning, definitely, yes, and this really supports with, hearing from them first. I'm glad you're mentioning this because it's something that we are trying out. And then offering experiential learning, of course, this is and critical thinking courses. This is exciting. It is what actually we are thinking of doing. Yes, especially critical thinking courses. And then there is an example here. An example would be how they communicate their training on a resume or CV. Can they show how their work can benefit the company, teaching students to advocate and sell themselves? This is great. And it's something that can be incorporated in day-to-day teaching, that students present their work, try to sell ideas to the class. So thanks for these insights, surely. Yes, I'm told we do not have more time. Yes, and I just want to appreciate you, appreciate your time, appreciate your suggestions. We have extra questions in Hoover and comments, those who went into Hoover to really log into our program to read our abstract and put in insights. We really are grateful. Thank you very much. Yes, that's all from us for now. And we are really glad you attended our session. Thanks again. This last slide is really, it's a background on where these initiatives are coming from. So there are partnerships, especially the underlying funder is really USAID and supported, not really supported, but funding Michigan State, and the Michigan Fellows Agribusiness Initiative and the graduate training program, we call it CAES ISP, and all these universities are actually supported by USAID and Michigan State. So thanks. Yeah, so for now we'll end the session, and we are really grateful. Thank you for joining us.